will start in a second. Okay, so the meeting is recording now. Let's continue. So we have the constraint layout, and its layout width is match parent. So the width of this layout, so its parent is the screen itself, right? So its width will be equal to the screen width. So that's what match parent means. So if we had text view's width as match parent, then it will go all the way from left to the right. And similarly, for the layout height of constraint layout, we have match parent. So it will, span across the vertical axis. Okay, so that's about the activity main.xml. Now let's look at the design tab. So we have a component palette. So we have this common tab, and then we have text, buttons, widgets, layouts, containers, and so on. So let's look at the common tab here. In there, we have quite a few views. So we have this text view. You already have that inside the layout. And we have, quite a few attributes. So we have ID. So ID is a unique identifier, and only one view can have a unique ID. So, and then there's width, height, constraints, and then the text that we put inside. So let's give it the ID, just simple text view. Okay. And let's edit the text in here, and let's say it's 0, not 0, 1. Okay. So now we can see that the text is a bit too small. So let's try and increase the text size. So we have an attribute for that called text size. So we will select, let's say 24 SP. So SP is a unit. So 24 SP, it looks good. Now let's change the color of text. So that's text color. And let's say black. Okay, so this looks good. It's visible now. Okay, so should we change something else? Okay, should work now. Okay, let's look at the activity main activity.kotlin file. So we have this package declaration, not very important as of now. We have a few imports, and then we have the main class. So this is the main activity class, and it inherits from another class known as app compat activity. So this is parent class of our main activity, and inside of there we have a function on create, which we are overriding. So this function is basically defined in app compat activity, that we are overriding that and adding some custom behavior. And inside that function, we call the on create for this parent class itself. So when we use a super keyword inside, this method, it refers to the parent class. So create, I'm sorry, we call the on create method on the parent class itself. And then in the next line, we have set content. So this basically connects the layout, that is activity main.xml, with this main activity file. And we have it right here. So R is a class. It's generated automatically for resources. And inside of there, we have this layout resource. So you can see the resource, we have layout, we have drawables, we have map, we have values. So we can refer to any of those using R dot. So we are referring to layout here. So R dot, and then we have activity main. So the content for this activity is found right here. Okay, so I think we should run the app now. Okay, so when your app is going to be built for the first time, it will take some time. Let's see how long it takes. So let's look. Okay, we can see that we have a couple of errors right here. So when you get errors, you should read the error message. So we have the location. So you can see in which file the error is, activity main XML. So let's open that file and let's go to the code tab. Okay, so we can see a squiggly line here. So it says that this is not a valid resource name. So let's just change it. Okay, so not so bad. Okay, let's try running the app again. Okay, so Gradle will now build our app. So I think it's going to successfully build the app. No errors now. So have you guys tried to, build a basic Hello World app or anything like that? Can anybody please answer? Okay. Were you able to successfully run it? Did you understand, these files, activity main and main activity, and what they do? Like I just explained it. So, okay. Okay. So can you guys tell me if you have started the pathways where you are right now, on what pathway, like 1, 2, or 3, or 10, whatever? Oh, that's great. Ishane, he's done with 4 of the pathways. Oh, Ananya is on 6th. Okay, that's great. Okay, so let's continue. So here we are getting a squiggly line, yellow one, so it's a warning. So it's asking us to extract this string that we have hard coded inside our XML file into a resource. So let's see what happens. Let's click this. So resource name, result text, let's say. Okay, so this you can find the string resource inside the res folder, and in values we'll have a file called strings.xml. So you'll be able to see all the strings that that are defined inside your app. So right here we have the result text string and its value is 1. So okay, let's add something to our app now. So I'm going to drag and drop this button and add it here. So I'm going to define, let me just close this tab for a minute. I'll define the constraints for it. So right here, you guys can see that we have 2 errors. Horizontal constraints and vertical constraints are not defined. So if we run our app now, this will jump to 0, 0. So we don't want that. So let's connect this to the bottom of the result text, and this to the bottom of the parent. Okay. Let's not do this. Let's remove this one. So if you want to remove a constraint, you can, just click this X right here. So that constraint will go away. Let's constrain it horizontally. So this right with the right one and left with the left of parent. Okay, so it's in the center now. Okay, so I think we should, have some space between the one and button. So let's add a margin. So the attribute is layout margin, and we have quite a few of them. So let's see. We have margin start. So for languages that go from left to right, start refers to left and end refers to right. And for languages like the ones which go from right to left, like Hebrew and others that I don't know about. Start is basically referring to the right, and end is left, and top and bottom is it's the same. So let's add a top margin. Let's say 32 dp. So this is another unit called dp. So this is density independent pixels. So like each of the devices, they will have different widths and resolutions and density of pixels, right? So if we use dp, what happens is uh, the space between, so basically your app will look similar on different devices. So devices with different screen sizes and screen resolutions and density, your app will look similar in all of them. So that is why we use DP, density independent pixels. Okay. So we have the button right here, and let's change the text of button. Let's have a role, and for ID, we'll say role button. Okay. Okay. So this was pretty simple. Now we want to add some function. Are you guys getting what we've done until now? Okay, I suppose you guys are. It's pretty simple. I mean, some of you have reached the sixth pathway, so not a problem apparently. So let's just see what this warning is, so you guys can fix it. Okay, so role text. Okay, so here we have our button component inside the XML. Okay, now we want, let's try and run our app again. So the emulator tab, we'll be able to see we have the button again. It's taking a while. So let's continue. Okay. Okay, there we go. So we can click this button, but right now nothing is going to happen as we have not attached any event listeners on the button here. So let's declare a few variables. So the first one, what was the ID? Text view. Okay. So text view. Okay. So when we want to find a view out of your activity, there's a built-in function called find view by ID. So that function will find the view with the ID you enter, and it will return that particular view. So let's say r dot id dot text view. So now we have the reference to this text, and let's declare another one, val role button. So that will be button, and find view by ID r dot id dot what was the ID for the button? Role button. Okay, good. So okay, so now let's attach an event listener. So set on click listener. So when the button will be clicked, this listener will execute the function we put here. So okay, so we want another function. So let's create a new function called let's have a private function. So it will be accessible only inside this class, and this private functions or even the private variables inside this class will not be accessible outside the class. Okay, so we'll have private file handle. Okay, so in this, let's just let's just directly try and change the text inside the text view here. So we'll need a reference to the text view. So we can do a few things. We can either accept um, parameter, the text view as a parameter, and then change the text inside it, or we can do something else. So I'm not going to accept it as a parameter. Instead, what I'll do is, you know, I'll declare this text view as a property on the main activity class itself. So yes, you can do that. Okay, so it's a text view. So we are having a few errors here, not a problem. We'll get to that in a minute. Okay, so we have this error. Let's see. Val cannot be reassigned. So let's see this declaration. So property must be initialized or be abstract. So when we have an immutable variable, we need to initialize it when we declare it. So we can do this, but it's not ideal. So let's change it to a mutable variable. Okay, so it's still showing an error. So this error is because um, we need to, so this might just be null. So we are not sure if this is going to be null or not. So, but once the app is running and we've executed these lines, we know for sure that the these text view variable and the role button variable, they are not going to be null. So we can tell Kotlin that I'm defining this variable and it is not going to be null. But like we're basically telling it to trust us, and that when we will read the variable, it will not be null. So we'll initialize the variable before we read it. So we'll initialize the variable, late. So that will be late in it. So that's another keyword that you can use if you want to initialize your variable later inside your code, but you want to declare it already. So we are declaring this here. So it is okay. So it's asking us that property name text view should not contain underscores. Okay, so that's a good coding practice. We use camel casing. So this, what we use here is called snake casing. And we will use camel casing inside of here. So each language, has its best practices. For example, if you're using Python, they will suggest you to use snake casing. But if you are using JavaScript or even Kotlin, they will ask you to use this one. Okay, so now we have these properties right here on the main activity class. So we can refer to it directly. So text view dot text. Okay, so we can change it. So we want to basically generate a random number from 1 to 6. So what we will do is we'll define a range from 1 to 6, and then we can use a function uh, random. So this will generate an integer from the range 1 to 6. But this text, it has to be a string. So we'll convert this to a string. Okay, so now you can see that the error is gone. Okay, apparently this was pretty simple. Let's just call the function. Okay, we have some suggestions. Let's see. We should make it private. Okay, let's stop the app and run it once again. And keep in mind that you don't have to accept each and every suggestions that Android Studio gives you. You know, sometimes you might need some custom behavior. Okay, so by default, we have the text as 1. So let's try and click roll. Okay, so it's 2 now, 5. Okay, so we have this working now. Okay, so what we can do is instead of this text view, uh, we can add images to the app. So, okay, so I'm not sure if I have the dice images right now. Let me just see. So, if you want to add any kind of resource to your app, what you need to do is just click this resource manager, and inside of that, you can see you have drawables, you have color, layout, map, string, navigation, all kinds of stuff. So make sure you have this dice roller app selected and click the add button. So you can add drawable resource file, image assets, vector assets. So, okay, so need to add image assets. Um, okay, just a second. So we need some images right now. Just give me a minute. Okay, so let's add the resource files from where? File name, resource.
Siddharth, I guess you need to directly choose import drawables, I guess.
Yeah, I think that might be the case. Okay, so we have the drawables right here. Mm, okay, thanks, Meg. That was Meg, right? Okay, so we have the dices here. Okay, so click next. Let's add them to the resource folder inside drawables. Let's click import. Okay, so now we have all these dices. So it's inside drawable. Okay, so let me close this. So we have all the dices here. Okay, so let's try and add an image view. Okay, so let's design this thing. Okay, so well, let's remove the text view. So you can select it and click the delete button, and then you can go for the image view. So it will ask you to pick a resource. So just choose an empty dice for right now. So you can place it like this, and let's constrain it first. Okay. Okay, not so bad. Let's constrain this one to the bottom and this one to, okay. Okay. Oops. So what's the problem here? See. Okay. So we have image view. Let's name the ID as dice image once again. Okay, let's try and have this here. Okay, and let's remove this constraint. Let's have it right here. Okay, so there's still an error. Let's see what the error is. Using drawable compat. So let's just ignore that for a moment. So we don't have this text view anymore. So we'll need to take care of that. So we have the image view now. So nice image, okay. So let's change this to an image view. Okay, and we'll rename this variable. So to rename this variable, don't directly do it. Right click it and go to refactor, and inside of there, choose rename. So now we can say dice image. Okay, so by default, the dice image has the empty one. So let's give it custom behavior. So before we go ahead, let's refactor our code a bit. So let's save this random integer in a new variable and dice.text. Okay, so now what we need to change here for this dice is the resource location, right? So it will be r.drawable.dice1 or dice2 or dice3 based on the we generate. So it's basically conditionals now. So what we will do is we'll use when and choose the random number that just got generated. So okay, yeah, we generated the random number. So when we have one, we can set the dice image dot. So we are going to set the resource. So set image resource, and we'll select r dot id dot r dot tribal dice one. Okay, so let's just duplicate this line. So if you want to select, the same text multiple times inside on Android Studio, what you can do is first select the text you want to select, and on Windows you can click Alt and J, so you'll be able to select it simultaneously. Um, so you can have multiple cursors at once working, and if for the else block have dice image dot set resource as r dot tribal dot empty dice. Okay, so let's stop the program and run it once again. Okay, so we have the empty dice image here. Now let's click roll. Okay, so we have 4, 2, 2 again, 3, 6. Okay, so there we go. So we have created the dice roller app. So you guys can see Not that difficult. It's pretty simple to create, this nice app. So now you guys can use this app if you need to, like you guys, when you guys go somewhere and if you don't have a dice or if you lose one, you can use this app. Okay, so I think that is it for the Android Studio part for today. So you guys can ask questions now. There's nothing else I think I want to share. So the people who are, on fourth and the sixth track, how's it going? Are you able to understand everything and, can you get stuff to work properly? Okay, so so Ishane has asked, what exactly is a map? So map is an image format, basically. Let me just Google it and show it to you guys. So yes, so it's a computer graphics technique used to achieve an illusion of depth in two-dimensional representation of a 3D image. Okay, so basically it's a technique using which 3D objects, they can be represented inside a two-dimensional space, but the depth effect doesn't disappear. Okay, so anything else? So one thing we can do here is we can use object-oriented programming. So let's just go ahead with that. Let's create another file, class file for Kotlin. Let's name it dice. Okay, so this dice, it will have a few sides. So let's say variable sides, it's an integer, and we can have a method inside of it called roll. So function roll, we don't have to take any parameters, and it will just return 1 to the number of sides dot random. Okay, so we have an error here. That is because we haven't specified the return type of this function, so it's an integer. So what we do here is, instead of having this return statement, we can just do it like this. So this is very readable, and it's suggesting us to make it private. Yep. Okay, so we have the dice class ready. Now what we will do is let's have a dice right here. Private dice. It will be late init variable, and its data type will be, well, dice. Okay, so, and inside our onCreate function, we will initialize a new dice. So dice, okay, equals to, so in our case, we have just 6 sides. So, using object-oriented programming, you can have, well, multiple sided dices. Okay, so, and instead of doing this every time, we can just say dice, okay, dot roll. So this will return the integer. So it does the same thing for us now. Okay, so this is how you can use object-oriented programming inside your app. So basically, you can create models for the objects, real-world objects that you want to represent. So I just created a model of a dice, and we added some properties, well, one property, sides, and then we added a method inside of it called roll. So it's basically what dice does. So we represent a real object inside our program using the class, and then we are using its property, well, function method role. Okay, so let's try and run our app. Okay, so yes, it's working. Okay, so that is it about, yeah, that is it about for today. Um, we don't need to talk about this. If anybody has a question, just speak up, please. Anyone?
Yeah, I had a question about the pathways.
Hmm.
Once we are done with them and like we send you the screenshot of the badges,
Hmm.
uh, will you be able to like give us the certificate right there and then, or will it be after 25th Jan only?
So I haven't decided on that, but I think so. If I start giving certificates, as in when people get done,
Mhm.
like बहुत सारे लोग, they'll be hitting me up, any time of the day. So I don't
Mm.
think I'll do that. So I'll set a date, and after that date, I'll let you guys, send your screenshots to me, and then we'll provide you with the certificates.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, sure. Anything else?
Yes, Siddarth, Akshat had a question. Can you check that out?
Sure. So Akshat has a question. How do I get my background color to change? Like I took the ID of the constraint, but it isn't working. The constraint layout. Okay, let's see. So here we have the constraint layout. Okay, let's close the emulator for a while. Let's go into the design mode. So where's the component tree? So here's the component tree. Apparently there is an error. Okay, that's fine. So when you have an image view inside your app, it will ask for a content description. So when you have screen readers, they, they need to read out. So what's there inside the image. So it is a good practice if you put the content description inside, and if you don't want to have a content description, you can just put another attribute, ignore, so not important for accessibility, something like that. Let's see, not import. Okay. Okay, so we have this important for accessibility, and in there just put no. So it will not ask for a content description. So in our case, we can dynamically update the content description. We can do that. So let's try that. Let's just have nothing. Okay, let's just have empty dice. and extract it to a string resource. And inside of here, okay, so we need to have dice.roll. So we'll save val result, and that will be the dice.roll. So I'm saving it inside another variable because I want to access it uh, outside of the when block. So we have the result. Okay, so what I'll do is dice image dot set content description. Okay, so content description, and we can directly do equals result dot to string. So content description has to be a string. Okay, so now the content description will dynamically change. Okay, so let's get back to the question. I'm sorry. So we have the constraint layout. Let's see what all attributes we've got here. So we have a background attribute. So let's try and put, okay. So I think I am able to do this. I'm not sure why that's happened with you. So do you want to screen share? Maybe I can help you out then. Like when, yeah. Okay, got it. So let's have another function, private change background. Okay, so we need to have, well, store this constraint layout inside another variable. So layout, that will be constraint layout. Okay, so find, okay, well, can we do this? R dot I. Okay, I'm not very sure if we can do this. Let's see where it, okay, it's not taking us anywhere. So let's see, can we give out an ID? Okay, we can. So it's the, let's just say C underscore layout. Okay, so we have the ID ready. Let's go to main activity. Let's say C underscore layout. Okay, so in here, let's have layout dot set background color. So the color has to be something like this. So color dot anything you want. So you can say parse string. So if I want to have a hex code here, so let's say, okay, I'm not sure about hex codes. Let's say red, hex code for red. Okay, so it has to be FF0000. So we can use hex codes for colors, but let's not do that. Let's just use the built-in colors we have. Let's go with yellow. Okay, so it's pretty simple. Now let's attach this on-click listener to the layout. So layout dot on, well, set on-click listener, and in there we'll have the function change background. So I see there is a typo. Okay, so we have changed background. Okay, so let me open the emulator. Let's stop there and rerun it. By default, it's orange right now because we changed it inside this file. Let's click. Okay, so it's changing to yellow. So this is the way you should go about it. Did you understand, Akshat? And if you're still hanging, okay, just try it once again. If you're still having a problem, just text me. We can figure it out on a call. Okay, so it's almost 4 p.m. Just 3 minutes to go. So this will be about it for today's session. Thanks a lot for joining in, everybody. We had just a few number of you guys, but that's fine. I hope this session helped you understand, the code you write better and how you can use object-oriented programming. Okay, so also the deadline to complete the tracks is 25th Jan. So yes, that's the deadline. But if you want, if you want the certificates, I suggest you guys to complete at least, 2-3 days before 25. So let's say you guys should complete by 22nd, because then I'll have to sign certificates, and I also need to submit quite a few stuff to Google. So it'll take a few days. So let's have 22nd January as the deadline. Okay, I'll put that in the group 2. Okay, thank you guys. Any questions? Tushar, Snehisri. Thank you. Tushar, do you have something to ask? Okay.